All right guys, quick tutorial here, what to do if your board won't turn on. So let's try this. Nothing. So it's the left wheel that turns on the board and it's not working for me. So to diagnose this, we're gonna need to take the lid off and you'll need the 2mm Allen tool, take off all the bolts. This does come in your box. If you don't have one, you can find it at any hardware store, 2mm Allen key. So I've already removed the bolts, and now you notice mine looks a bit different from yours. Everything's kind of loose in here, but you've got a battery and a controller and all the connections in here. So what's happening now is it's not turning on when I spin this wheel, and I've simulated this. So what I did is I just unplugged this wire, and that is the first thing that you'll want to check here. Make sure that every wire here is very secure into the computer board and all parts. So this one, wow, look at that, that's loose. And that can happen if you ride, especially over really bumpy terrain. These can kind of vibrate themselves loose over time. So be sure that every connection is really tight in here. And now let's try it. Wow, it turned on. So beautiful. And I've got power. That's great. Now let's say that all your connections are tight and it still won't turn on. So I'm going to show you what else to check, and we'll simulate that issue. So there's no lights coming from the controller. Spinning it doesn't give me a beep. There's no indicator for the board here. It's just not turning on. And what we can check here then is the battery. We want to make sure the switch on the battery is on. So right now it's off. Maybe I changed the battery out and I forgot to turn the switch back to on. That would resolve the issue right away. And I did simulate this, so boom, we're back in business. So turn that off again and I'll show you some other things you can try. So let's turn that back there, and I've got the battery back on. We know this is the problem, but I'll show you a cool trick here. So it's just not turning on. Bummer, that sucks. Can't use the board if it can't turn on. So what I'm gonna do is take a key or a tool or a screwdriver, and I'm going to turn the board on manually. And this way I can check and see if it will turn on, and I can diagnose if the problem is with the battery or with the board or with the motor. So this will help me diagnose that. And this is actually an on-off switch right here. So this can be used to plug an on-off switch to. We don't use them on this board, but to turn it on manually, I'm gonna simulate having an on-off switch. So I'll take a screwdriver or a key or something and just jump between the wires on the on-off switch, which is this middle connector. So I'll show you that again here. Turn the battery off and back on, and real close here, it's the two left ones on here that turned it on. Show you that again. So I've just turned the board on manually. It's kind of like jump starting it without turning the wheel. That's pretty cool. If you can't turn it on with the wheel, this is something to try to turn it on. Now that it's on, I can make sure my remote's on, and I can diagnose further. Okay, the wheel's not spinning. That could be a problem with the motor. But at least this way I know that it's powering up and the problem isn't the battery. So that's good to know. Now I'll focus my efforts on the controller or the motor wheels themselves. So that's a good test to make sure it turns on, and you'll probably see both motors working or one motor working. If the motor which turns on the board has stopped working, that could be the reason why it's not turning on. So there's another video which you can figure out if one motor's not working, where the problem lies, if it's the motor or the controller, and you'll be able to see that below. But this cool trick should be able to help you in your troubleshooting and figure out which parts you need to get back on the road ASAP.